The morning sun filtered through the tall glass windows of Lux Avenue, casting long shadows across the polished marble floors. Maya adjusted her simple ponytail as she stepped into the high-end boutique, the bell above the door announcing her arrival with a delicate chime. She wore what she always wore on her days off: comfortable blue jeans, worn but clean sneakers, and a plain beige sweater that had seen better days. Nothing about her screamed wealth or importance. She was just another face in the crowd, and that was exactly how she preferred it. Maya glanced around, taking in the pristine white walls adorned with minimalist artwork and glass display cases that sparkled under the careful lighting. Each item inside those cases probably cost more than what most people made in a month. She smiled to herself, thinking of her sister's upcoming birthday. Lily had always dreamed of owning something from this particular designer, saving magazine clippings since they were teenagers sharing a tiny bedroom in their parents' apartment. "Can I help you find something?" a voice called out, the tone somehow managing to sound both professional and dismissive at once. Maya turned to see a tall woman with immaculate makeup and a sleek black dress that probably cost more than Maya's entire wardrobe. The woman's name tag read, Rebecca, and her eyes moved up and down Maya's outfit with barely disguised judgment. "I'm just looking around for now, thank you," Maya replied with a warm smile. Years of dealing with all kinds of people had taught her that kindness was always the best first approach. Rebecca's perfectly sculpted eyebrow rose slightly. "Of course. Let me know if you need direction." She didn't exactly walk away, but instead lingered nearby, pretending to adjust items that were already perfectly aligned. Maya continued browsing, her fingers gently touching the fine fabrics of dresses and blouses arranged by color. She couldn't help noticing how Rebecca seemed to materialize whenever she touched anything, like a hawk watching its prey. When Maya moved toward the accessories section, Rebecca followed, maintaining what she probably thought was a discreet distance. Two other customers entered the boutique, women dressed in designer clothes with expensive haircuts and jewelry that caught the light. Rebecca immediately shifted her attention to them, her face transforming into a mask of genuine delight. "Mrs. Anderson, Mrs. Thompson, how wonderful to see you both again," Rebecca exclaimed, her voice rising an octave higher than when she'd spoken to Maya. "The new collection just arrived yesterday. I set aside those pieces we discussed for you." Maya smiled to herself and continued looking around. She spotted a beautiful handbag in one of the glass cases, exactly the kind of thing Lily had been dreaming about. It was smaller than most of the other pieces, more practical but still undeniably elegant with its soft leather and subtle gold accents. Maya approached the counter and waited patiently as Rebecca fawned over the other women. After nearly 10 minutes, Rebecca finally acknowledged Maya with a tight smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Did you need something?" "Yes, I was wondering if I could see that small handbag, please." Maya pointed to the case. "The tan one with the gold hardware." Rebecca glanced at where Maya was pointing, then back at Maya herself. A small smirk formed at the corner of her mouth. "That's from our limited edition collection. It's $5,000. The way she emphasized the price made her meaning clear. She didn't believe Maya could afford it. "I understand," Maya replied evenly. "I'd still like to see it if that's okay." Rebecca hesitated, her eyes flicking toward the other women who were now watching the exchange with mild curiosity. With obvious reluctance, she pulled out a small key and opened the case, removing the handbag with the careful precision of someone handling a priceless artifact. "It's genuine calfskin leather. Hand-stitched in Italy," Rebecca explained, her tone suggesting she was reciting information Maya couldn't possibly appreciate. She held the bag just out of comfortable reaching distance. "It's beautiful," Maya said, extending her hand. "May I?" Rebecca reluctantly handed it over, watching like a nervous parent as Maya gently examined the craftsmanship. The leather was butter soft, the stitching indeed impeccable. Lily would absolutely love it. "I think this might be perfect," Maya said after a moment. "Does it come in any other colors?" Rebecca's eyebrows shot up in genuine surprise. "This is the only color in this particular style. Are you actually planning to purchase this today?" The question hung in the air, weighted with disbelief. Maya noticed the other customers had stopped their browsing to watch the exchange. "I'm considering it as a gift," Maya replied, still keeping her tone friendly despite the growing discomfort she felt under everyone's stares. Rebecca let out a short laugh that sounded more like a scoff. Perhaps I should show you some of our more accessible options. Her voice had risen slightly, ensuring the other customers could hear. We have some lovely items in the back that might be more within your budget. Something synthetic, perhaps? The boutique fell quiet. Maya felt heat rising to her cheeks as several pairs of eyes turned in her direction. The two wealthy customers exchanged glances, one of them covering a smile with her manicured hand. I'm actually interested in this bag specifically. Maya tried again, her voice softer now. Listen, Rebecca said, taking the bag back and lowering her voice to a stage whisper that was still perfectly audible to everyone nearby. Between you and me, there's a department store down on 5th that has some very convincing dupes of our designs. Much more reasonable for someone in your situation. The humiliation burned through Maya like wildfire. She'd done nothing to deserve this treatment beyond walking in wearing clothes that didn't broadcast wealth. Part of her wanted to reveal who she was, who her husband was, just to see the look on Rebecca's face. But that had never been her way. I see, Maya said simply, gathering her dignity around her like armor. Thank you for your time. You're very welcome, Rebecca replied with false brightness. The exit is right behind you. Maya turned and walked toward the door, keeping her head high even as she heard quiet laughter behind her. She'd grown up with nothing, worked her way through college on scholarships and multiple jobs, and had experienced plenty of judgment in her life. This was nothing new, but it still stung. Outside on the sidewalk, Maya took a deep breath of the crisp autumn air. The busy street continued its normal rhythm. People hurrying past, yellow taxis honking, life going on as usual while she stood there feeling small and insignificant. She pulled out her phone, her thumb hovering over her husband's contact information. Daniel would be furious if he knew what had just happened. As one of the most successful yet private businessmen in the city, he avoided publicity and rarely flaunted their wealth. They'd met years before his company took off, when they were both just struggling young professionals with big dreams. Their relationship had always been built on mutual respect and understanding, not money or status. Maya hesitated, then pressed the call button. The phone rang twice before his familiar voice answered. Hey you, Daniel said, the smile evident in his tone even through the phone. How's the shopping going? Did you find something for Lily? Maya glanced back at the boutique's elegant facade. Through the window, she could see Rebecca now enthusiastically showing jewelry to the wealthy customers. The store didn't have what I was looking for, Maya said, trying to keep her voice casual. Nothing worth buying. There was a brief pause on the other end of the line. Maya, Daniel said slowly. What happened? Nothing important, she replied, but the slight tremor in her voice betrayed her. Where are you right now? The background noise on his end suggested he was stepping away from a meeting. Outside that designer boutique on Madison Avenue, the one Lily's always talking about. Stay there, Daniel said, his voice gentle but firm. I'll meet you for lunch at Antonio's across the street in an hour. We can figure out another gift for Lily together. You're in the middle of your workday, Maya protested. I know you have that big meeting about the property acquisition. It's almost wrapped up, Daniel interrupted. And nothing's more important than you. 1 hour, okay? After they hung up, Maya tucked her phone back into her purse. A small, rarely indulged part of her wondered what Rebecca's face would look like when she eventually realized her mistake. But Maya shook the thought away. She wasn't that person, she never had been. She turned and walked toward the small coffee shop on the corner. She'd wait there, gather her thoughts, maybe sketch some design ideas for her community art project. In an hour, she'd meet Daniel for lunch, and this small, unpleasant moment would be forgotten. What Maya didn't know as she walked away was that this incident wouldn't be forgotten at all. In fact, within the hour, that sleek boutique and its staff were about to learn a valuable lesson about judging people by their appearance, a lesson that would change more lives than just Rebecca's. Maya settled into a corner table at the cozy coffee shop, wrapping her hands around a warm ceramic mug. The bitter aroma of freshly ground beans helped ease the knot in her stomach. She hadn't told Daniel everything that had happened at the boutique. It wasn't her style to complain or cause trouble, and part of her felt foolish for being so affected by a stranger's rudeness. Meanwhile, across town in a sleek glass skyscraper, Daniel Chen stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of the conference room, phone still in hand. Something in Maya's voice had bothered him, a slight tremor he recognized from the rare occasions when she was upset but trying not to show it. After 10 years together, he could read her better than anyone. "Is everything all right, Mr. Chen?" asked Raj, his chief financial officer, gesturing to the contract spread across the massive oak table where 5 other executives waited. Daniel turned, his expression thoughtful. At 42, he had the kind of presence that commanded attention without effort. Not from his height or build, which were average, but from a quiet confidence that came from building a global investment empire from nothing. "We'll need to wrap this up sooner than expected," Daniel said. "I have a lunch appointment in an hour." The executives exchanged glances. This acquisition had been in the works for months, a multi-block property deal that would transform an entire section of the city. Postponing the final discussions was unusual, especially for someone known for his laser focus on business. "We just need your final approval on the Madison Avenue properties," said Vivian, his legal counsel, sliding a document toward him. "The boutiques and galleries along that strip are the last piece of the portfolio." Daniel picked up the paper, his eyes scanning the list of businesses. He paused, his finger stopping at one particular name. "Lux Avenue Boutique," he read aloud. "That's on Madison between 67th and 68th, correct?" Raj nodded, pulling up a digital map on the wall screen. "Yes, one of the higher-performing luxury retailers in the area. Their lease is up for renewal next quarter." A slight smile crossed Daniel's face. "Interesting timing," he murmured. He signed the documents with a quick, efficient signature, then handed them back to Vivian. "Ladies and gentlemen, as of this moment, Chen Global Investments owns approximately 60% of that city block. Let's keep that information private for now." As the executives gathered their materials, Daniel pulled Raj aside. "Have my car brought around, and call Antonio's. Book their private corner table for lunch." "Will Mrs. Chen be joining you?" Raj asked, already typing the instruction on his tablet. "Yes," Daniel replied. "And Raj, could you pull the customer service records for Lux Avenue? I'm curious about their reputation." While Raj raised an eyebrow, he knew better than to question his boss's requests. "I'll have it sent to your phone within 20 minutes. Daniel nodded his thanks and headed to his private office. He rarely used his position or wealth to make points. Both he and Maya had agreed early in their relationship to live relatively modestly, despite their means. They still lived in the same brownstone they'd bought before his company went public, though they'd renovated it extensively. They drove nice cars but nothing flashy. They donated generously but anonymously to causes they believed in. And Maya, despite having access to unlimited shopping funds, still preferred simple clothes and rarely wore expensive jewelry outside of special occasions. It was one of the countless things he loved about her. Her authenticity had never wavered. Not when they were dating in their 20s and barely making rent, and not now when their net worth had 9 zeros behind it. Daniel closed his office door and called Maya back. "Hey," she answered on the second ring. "You really don't need to cut your meeting short." "I'm fine, honestly." The meeting was wrapping up anyway, he said, which wasn't entirely untrue. "Tell me what happened at the boutique." There was a pause on the other end of the line. "It's silly." The saleswoman was just rude. "Maya." His tone was gentle but firm. "Tell me." She sighed, and he could picture her pushing a strand of hair behind her ear, a habit when she was uncomfortable. "The usual thing. I didn't look like I could afford to be there, so I was treated accordingly. The saleswoman suggested I'd be better off shopping at a department store for knockoffs." Daniel felt a flash of anger, but kept his voice level. "In those exact words?" "Pretty much." She said it loud enough for everyone to hear. Maya's voice grew quieter. "It was humiliating, Daniel. All because I wore jeans and didn't carry a designer purse myself." What was her name? Rebecca, according to her name tag. But really, it's not worth making a fuss over. Daniel made a mental note of the name. "Did you still want to get that bag for Lily? We could go to the designer's flagship store downtown instead." "Maybe," Maya said, but he could hear the hesitation in her voice. "I really liked the one at this boutique. It was perfect for Lily. Practical but special. Just like her." Daniel glanced at his watch. "I'll see you at Antonio's in 40 minutes. We'll figure it out over lunch." After they hung up, Daniel opened the email Raj had already sent. The customer service reviews for Lux Avenue told a story. 5-star ratings from wealthy clients, and multiple complaints from ordinary customers about snobbish treatment. The boutique catered to the elite and made no apologies for it. Daniel made one more call. "Chen Global Automotive," answered a crisp voice. James, it's Daniel. I'll need the Bentley today instead of the usual car. Right away, sir. Will you be driving yourself? No, I'd like you to drive. I'll be coming down in about 20 minutes. The Bentley was rarely used, an indulgence Daniel had allowed himself after closing his first billion-dollar deal. Most days, he preferred his less conspicuous Tesla, or even taking the subway when meetings were close enough. But today called for something different. Daniel changed from his navy business suit into a bespoke charcoal gray one that Maya had once said made him look like he'd stepped out of a film. He added a platinum watch, his one concession to obvious displays of wealth, and slipped on Italian leather shoes that cost more than most people's monthly rent. When he stepped into the elevator, his assistant did a double take. Special occasion, Mr. Chen? Daniel smiled slightly. Just lunch with my wife. Downstairs, the gleaming black Bentley waited at the curb, attracting curious glances from passers-by. James held the door open as Daniel slid into the back seat. Madison Avenue first, Daniel instructed. There's someone I need to pick up. As the luxury car glided through the city streets, Daniel reviewed the property documents on his tablet. Chen Global now owned the building that housed Lux Avenue, along with several surrounding properties. As landlord, he had considerable influence over the boutique's future. But he wasn't interested in revenge. That wasn't his or Maya's style. He was thinking of something more constructive. The Bentley turned onto Madison Avenue, drawing attention with its distinctive profile and gleaming finish. Daniel could see Maya through the window of the coffee shop, sketching in her notebook as she often did when waiting somewhere. She hadn't noticed the car yet. He smiled, thinking of how she still rode the bus sometimes, insisting it was perfectly fine despite having access to a private driver. Before heading to the coffee shop, Daniel made an unexpected request. James, pull up in front of Lux Avenue, please. Park right at the front door. James did as instructed, positioning the luxury vehicle directly in front of the boutique's elegant facade. The car's presence immediately drew attention from people on the sidewalk, some taking pictures with their phones. A Bentley Continental GT was not an everyday sight. Even in this upscale neighborhood, Daniel watched through the tinted windows as Rebecca, clearly visible through the boutique's glass frontage, noticed the car. Her expression changed from bored to alert as she straightened her posture and adjusted her hair. He could practically see her calculating the potential commission from whoever might step out of such a vehicle. Wait here for 5 minutes, then meet me at the coffee shop on the corner, Daniel instructed James, who nodded with professional discretion. As Daniel walked the short distance to meet Maya, he contemplated his approach. Making a scene wasn't his style, nor would it be what Maya wanted. But sometimes a point needed to be made, not out of pettiness, but because people deserve to be treated with dignity, regardless of what they wore or how much money they appeared to have. He spotted Maya through the coffee shop window, still absorbed in her sketching, unaware of what was about to unfold. Their lives had become extraordinary in many ways, but at heart, they remained the same people who'd fallen in love before the money, before the success, before the world knew Daniel Chen's name. Daniel pushed open the door of the coffee shop, the bell chiming softly. Maya looked up, her face brightening with a smile that even after all these years still made his heart skip a beat. Ready for lunch? He asked, leaning down to kiss her cheek. Maya closed her sketchbook and tucked it into her bag. You're looking particularly handsome today, she commented, taking in his formal attire with raised eyebrows. Important meeting after lunch? Daniel offered his arm as they walked to the door. No meetings. I just thought we might make another stop after Antonio's. Oh? Maya looked up at him suspiciously. What are you planning, Daniel? The black Bentley pulled up to the curb just as they exited the coffee shop. Maya's eyes widened. The Bentley? Now I know you're up to something. Daniel smiled mysteriously as James opened the car door for them. Let's just say I thought we might revisit the boutique. It seems I now have a vested interest in how they treat their customers. The glossy black Bentley glided to a stop directly in front of Lux Avenue Boutique. From inside the luxury vehicle, Maya watched as pedestrians turned their heads, their eyes lingering on the car's distinctive silhouette and gleaming chrome details. She shifted uncomfortably in the butter-soft leather seat. Daniel, she said, laying a hand on her husband's arm, we don't need to do this. Let's just go to lunch and forget about it. Daniel covered her hand with his own. His eyes were kind but determined. We're not going to make a scene. I promise. But I'd like you to get that bag for Lily, and I think it's important that we address what happened. Maya sighed, recognizing the gentle stubbornness in his voice. It was the same quiet resolve that had built his company from a tiny startup operating out of their first apartment into a global investment firm. Once Daniel decided something mattered, he rarely backed down. Fine, she conceded, but no big confrontation, okay? These kinds of people aren't worth our time. Daniel smiled, squeezing her hand. Agreed. This isn't about revenge. It's about respect. The driver, James, opened the door with practiced precision. Daniel stepped out first, his custom suit catching the midday sunlight. He extended his hand to Maya, who emerged with the natural grace she'd always possessed. Despite growing up worlds away from luxury cars and designer boutiques, she'd taken time at the coffee shop to freshen up, tying her hair back into a neater ponytail and applying a touch of lip gloss. She still wore the same jeans and beige sweater from earlier, a deliberate choice she'd made when Daniel suggested she might want to change into something from the garment bag he'd brought. I want her to recognize me, Maya had said simply. Now, as they stood on the sidewalk before the boutique, Maya felt a flutter of nerves. She wasn't one for confrontation. Growing up with 5 siblings in a 2-bedroom apartment had taught her to avoid unnecessary drama. But Daniel's steady presence beside her was reassuring. Inside the boutique, Rebecca was helping the same wealthy customers from earlier, showing them an array of silk scarves. Her perfectly made-up face froze mid-sentence as she spotted the Bentley through the window. The vehicle alone commanded attention, but when she saw who was emerging from it, her expression transformed into a mask of confusion, followed by dawning horror. The wealthy customers noticed Rebecca's distraction and followed her gaze. One of them, a silver-haired woman dripping in designer labels, raised an eyebrow. "Isn't that Daniel Chen?" she whispered loudly to her companion. "The real estate mogul?" The other woman nodded, adjusting her glasses for a better look. "It certainly is. My husband's investment firm works with his company. What's he doing here of all places?" Rebecca barely heard them, her eyes fixed on the woman by Daniel Chen's side, the same plainly dressed woman she had humiliated and dismissed just over an hour ago. The same woman who was now linked arm in arm with one of the wealthiest men in the city. "Ladies, excuse me for just one moment," Rebecca said to her customers, her voice tight. She hurried to the front of the store, frantically straightening displays along the way and hissing at a junior sales associate to look alive. The bell above the door chimed as Daniel held it open for Maya. The boutique seemed to fall silent, the soft background music suddenly the only sound as all eyes turned toward the entrance. Rebecca's face arranged itself into what she clearly hoped was a welcoming smile, though it came across more as a grimace. "Welcome to Lux Avenue," she said, stepping forward with her hand extended toward Daniel, pointedly ignoring Maya at first. "It's an honor to have you visit our humble establishment, Mr. Chen. I'm Rebecca, the senior sales consultant." Daniel regarded her with a polite but cool expression, not taking the offered hand. "Thank you. I believe you've already met my wife, Maya?" Rebecca's eyes darted to Maya, her smile faltering for just a second before stretching even wider. "Of course. Mrs. Chen, how lovely to see you again so soon." Maya nodded but said nothing, her expression neutral. The awkward silence stretched between them until Rebecca broke it with an artificial laugh. "What brings you both back to our boutique today? Perhaps I can show you our VIP collection. We keep our most exclusive pieces in a private showroom." Daniel glanced around the store, noting how the other customers were pretending not to stare while clearly hanging on every word. The 2 wealthy women Rebecca had been helping had abandoned any pretense of shopping and were openly watching the scene unfold. "Actually," Daniel said, his voice pleasant but caring enough to be heard throughout the boutique, "my wife was interested in a specific handbag earlier. Unfortunately, she felt she wasn't provided with the service one might expect from an establishment of this caliber." Rebecca's face flushed, red patches appearing beneath her expertly applied foundation. "There must have been some misunderstanding," she said quickly. "We pride ourselves on exceptional customer service for all our guests." A skeptical expression crossed Daniel's face. "Is that so? That hasn't been my understanding based on the reviews I've read." Maya touched his arm gently, a reminder of their agreement not to make a scene. Daniel nodded almost imperceptibly. "The tan handbag with gold hardware," Maya said, breaking her silence. I'd like to see it again, please. Yes. Of course. Rebecca practically tripped over herself moving toward the display case. One of our finest pieces. I was just explaining its unique features to you earlier. The junior sales associate nearby couldn't suppress a confused look, clearly having witnessed the previous interaction. Rebecca shot her a warning glare as she unlocked the case with slightly trembling hands. This time, when she retrieved the handbag, she presented it to Maya with exaggerated care, as if handling a precious artifact. The craftsmanship is extraordinary, Mrs. Chen. Each one is handmade by a master artisan who creates only 12 bags per year. Maya took the bag, examining it with the same careful attention she had shown earlier. It's beautiful, she said simply. My sister will love it. Oh, it's for your sister? Rebecca gushed, her voice rising to an almost painful pitch. How thoughtful of you. Family is so important, isn't it? I always say that family is everything. Daniel watched the interaction with a slightly raised eyebrow, saying nothing but observing everything. The junior sales associate had disappeared into a back room, and moments later an older woman emerged, her expression concerned. Based on her more formal attire, she appeared to be the manager or owner. The woman approached with a professional smile, extending her hand first to Daniel, then to Maya. Good afternoon. I'm Patricia Wells, the owner of Lux Avenue. It's a pleasure to welcome you both. Daniel shook her hand. Daniel Chen, this is my wife, Maya. Recognition flashed in Patricia's eyes. Mr. Chen, what an unexpected honor. I hope you're finding everything to your satisfaction today. Before Daniel could respond, the door to the boutique opened again, and a distinguished-looking man in his 60s entered, slightly out of breath. He made his way directly to their small group, his expression a mixture of concern and deference. Mr. Chen, he said, extending his hand. Gregory Thompson, CEO of Prestige Retail Group. I received a call that you were visiting one of our boutiques. Maya shot Daniel a questioning look. He returned it with a small shrug that said, I didn't call him. The pieces clicked into place for Maya. Someone, likely someone from Daniel's office, had made sure word traveled quickly about their visit. Mr. Thompson, Daniel said, shaking the man's hand. This is unexpected. I was simply accompanying my wife while she shopped. Gregory Thompson looked nervous, his eyes darting between Daniel, Maya, and his employees. I hope you're receiving our very best service today. Actually, Daniel replied, his voice measured. We were just discussing a concerning incident that took place earlier. My wife visited alone this morning and was treated differently. Patricia's face paled as she turned to Rebecca. Is this true? Rebecca's mouth opened and closed several times, no words emerging. The boutique had fallen completely silent. Even the background music seemed to have paused at the perfect dramatic moment. There was a misunderstanding, Rebecca finally managed, her voice barely above a whisper. Maya, uncomfortable with being the center of attention, spoke up. I've found the gift I wanted for my sister, she said, holding up the handbag. We'd like to purchase it now. Patricia quickly stepped forward. Of course, Mrs. Chen, it would be our honor. In fact, please accept it as a gift from Lux Avenue with our compliments. Maya shook her head firmly. No, thank you. I'd like to pay the full price. There was something in her tone that brooked no argument. Patricia nodded and led them toward the register, shooting a look at Rebecca that clearly said, We'll discuss this later. As Patricia processed the purchase, handling the transaction personally, Gregory Thompson leaned closer to Daniel. Mr. Chen, he said quietly, I understand your company has recently acquired this property. Daniel nodded. News travels fast. We value our relationship with all our landlords, Thompson continued, a hint of anxiety in his voice. I hope this unfortunate incident won't affect our lease renewal discussions. Daniel's expression remained neutral. Mr. Thompson, I believe we should continue this conversation at a more appropriate time. Perhaps your office tomorrow at 10 a.m. Thompson swallowed visibly. Of course. I'll clear my schedule. Maya accepted the elegantly wrapped package from Patricia, thanking her with genuine politeness. As they turned to leave, Maya paused beside Rebecca, who stood frozen like a statue. Everyone deserves to be treated with respect, Maya said quietly. For Rebecca's ears only, no matter what they're wearing. The words hung in the air as Daniel placed his hand gently on Maya's back, guiding her toward the door. They stepped outside into the sunlight, leaving behind a boutique full of stunned silence and the beginning of what would surely be a very uncomfortable conversation between Rebecca and her superiors. As they slid back into the waiting Bentley, Maya let out a long breath. That was intense. Daniel took her hand. You handled it perfectly. So did you, she replied with a small smile. No drama, no scenes, but I think the message was received loud and clear. Daniel nodded as James pulled the car smoothly away from the curb. I believe it was. Now how about that lunch? I've heard Antonio makes an excellent pasta special on Thursdays. Maya leaned against his shoulder, the tension leaving her body. Sounds perfect. But Daniel, yes? Tomorrow I'm driving us both to work on the subway. Daniel laughed, the sound warming the luxurious interior of the car. Whatever you say, Mrs. Chen. Whatever you say. The morning sun cast long shadows across the polished conference table in Daniel's office. He sat reviewing the Lux Avenue file, sipping black coffee from a simple ceramic mug. A handmade gift from Maya's sister Lily years ago, before either of them had wealth. He preferred it to the expensive crystal glassware that corporate gifts often brought. A gentle knock at the door was followed by Raj's entrance. Mr. Thompson has arrived. He's 10 minutes early, Daniel nodded. Let him wait 5 minutes, then send him in. It wasn't about power games. Daniel simply needed to finish reviewing the boutique's financial statements. The numbers told an interesting story. Despite its exclusive reputation, Lux Avenue's sales had declined steadily over the past 3 quarters. Their customer base was shrinking, limited to a small circle of wealthy regulars. The boutique was in trouble, though they maintained a facade of success. 5 minutes later, Gregory Thompson entered the office, a leather portfolio tucked under his arm. His tailored suit couldn't hide the tension in his shoulders. Mr. Chen, thank you for seeing me, he said, extending his hand. Daniel rose to shake it, gesturing to the chair across from him. Coffee? No, thank you. I've had plenty this morning, Thompson replied with a nervous laugh that revealed more than he intended. Daniel sat back down, studying the older man. Thompson had built Prestige Retail Group from a single boutique into a chain of 30 high-end stores across the country. His business model targeted exclusively wealthy clients, a strategy that had worked well for decades, but was showing cracks in the changing retail landscape. I've reviewed your company's lease on the Madison property. Daniel began, getting straight to the point. It expires in 6 weeks. Thompson nodded, opening his portfolio to retrieve some papers. Yes, and we're very interested in renewing. We've prepared an offer that reflects current market rates with a slight increase as expected. He slid a document across the table. Daniel glanced at the figures without picking up the paper. The market has changed significantly in that neighborhood. Property values have increased by nearly 30% since your last negotiation. We're aware, Thompson said quickly, and we're prepared to negotiate a fair increase. Lux Avenue has been a fixture on Madison for 15 years. We bring a certain prestige to the property. Prestige, Daniel repeated, testing the word. That's an interesting choice of terms given yesterday's incident. Thompson's face flushed. About that, I want to personally apologize for the treatment your wife received. It's completely unacceptable and doesn't reflect our company values, doesn't it? Daniel asked mildly, sliding a tablet across the table. These are customer reviews of Lux Avenue from the past year. I've highlighted some interesting patterns. Thompson reluctantly took the tablet, scrolling through dozens of reviews. The 5-star ratings came exclusively from known wealthy clients, while numerous 1- and 2-star reviews told stories disturbingly similar to Maya's experience. One woman was followed by security because she wore workout clothes, Daniel noted. Another was told items were not for display when she asked to see them. A college student was informed that nothing in the store would fit her budget. The pattern is clear, Mr. Thompson. Thompson set the tablet down, looking uncomfortable. I wasn't aware of these specific incidents. Our customer service team should have brought this to my attention. Or perhaps this is exactly the environment you've cultivated, Daniel suggested. A deliberate strategy to create exclusivity by making ordinary people feel unwelcome. That's not, Thompson began, then stopped himself. After a moment of consideration, he sighed. Exclusivity has been part of our brand identity, yes, but we never intended for staff to be openly rude or discriminatory. Daniel leaned forward slightly. Yet you incentivize it. Your commission structure rewards sales associates for high-value purchases while providing no motivation to help customers with more modest budgets. Thompson seemed surprised by Daniel's detailed knowledge of their internal policies. I do my homework, Mr. Thompson, Daniel explained, especially when it involves properties my company owns. Even more so when it involves my wife being humiliated. What exactly are you looking for here? Thompson asked directly. If it's a higher lease payment, we can negotiate. If you want that sales associate fired, consider it done. Daniel shook his head. I'm not interested in getting anyone fired. And this isn't about money. Then what? It's about impact, Daniel said simply. My wife and I believe that how we use our resources matters. The businesses operating in our properties reflect on us. He pushed a folder across the table. These are our terms for lease renewal. Thompson opened the folder, his eyes widening as he scanned the document. This is unexpected. Take time to review it, Daniel said, standing to indicate the meeting was concluding. We can discuss specifics once you've considered our proposal. You have until the end of next week to decide. As a visibly shaken Thompson gathered his things, Daniel added, One more thing. Maya and I would like to visit the boutique again next month. We're hoping to see meaningful changes by then. After Thompson left, Raj entered with a knowing smile. I'm guessing he didn't expect those terms. Daniel allowed himself a small smile. Probably not. Your 10 o'clock is waiting, Raj reminded him. The community center funding review. Daniel nodded, gathering his materials. As he headed to his next meeting, his phone buzzed with a text from Maya. How did it go with Thompson? She'd written. Productively, he replied. Tell you more tonight. How's the art program today? Maya ran a community arts initiative in the same neighborhood where she'd grown up. Despite having access to unlimited funds, she'd chosen to build the program through proper channels, writing grants, soliciting donations from multiple sources, and creating a sustainable model that wasn't dependent solely on their wealth. Full class today? She texted back. Kids are making self-portraits. Wish you could see them. Daniel smiled at his phone. This was the woman he'd fallen in love with, someone whose first thought was always for others. Yesterday at the boutique, she hadn't demanded revenge or special treatment. She'd simply wanted everyone to be treated with basic dignity. That same morning at Lux Avenue, Rebecca stood before Patricia's desk, hands clasped tightly in front of her. I've worked here for 7 years, she said, voice trembling slightly. My sales numbers are consistently the highest in the company. Patricia sighed, pushing a sheet of paper toward her. Your sales to our VIP clients are impressive. But this new data shows something troubling. Your conversion rate for first-time visitors is the lowest of any associate in all 30 boutiques. Rebecca shifted uncomfortably. The company has always emphasized focusing on high-value clients. And that strategy has backfired spectacularly, Patricia replied. Mr. Thompson called an emergency meeting with all store managers this morning. Apparently his discussion with Mr. Chen was enlightening. I'm being fired, aren't I? Rebecca asked, her composure finally breaking. Patricia studied her for a long moment. That would be the easy solution, wouldn't it? Make you the scapegoat for a problem that exists throughout our organization. She shook her head. No, you're not being fired. But things are going to change dramatically around here. She handed Rebecca another document. This is the new commission structure effective immediately. You'll notice it rewards customer satisfaction and new client acquisition equally with sales volume. Rebecca scanned the page, frowning. This will cut my commission in half unless I completely change how I work. Precisely, Patricia said. And there's more. Starting next week, all staff will participate in a new training program focused on inclusive customer service. You'll be expected to take a leadership role in this initiative, sharing what you learn with the team. Rebecca looked up in surprise. You want me to lead the training? Who better? Patricia asked. You have the most to unlearn and therefore potentially the most to teach. Consider it your chance at redemption. Before Rebecca could respond, Patricia's phone rang. She answered, listened briefly, then hung up with a look of apprehension. That was Mr. Thompson's office. He's calling an all-hands meeting tomorrow to discuss the future of the company. Rumor has it there's going to be a major announcement. She looked pointedly at Rebecca. I suggest you use today to reflect on the kind of sales professional you want to be moving forward. Maya sat cross-legged on the floor of the community center, helping a young girl mix paint colors for her self-portrait. The girl, no more than 10 years old, had carefully drawn her own face with a serious expression. "Why aren't you smiling in your picture, Zoe?" Maya asked gently. The girl shrugged. "My mom says I should smile more in photos, but this is how I usually look when I'm thinking." "And I'm almost always thinking," Maya laughed. "That's a very good reason. Art should be true, not what others expect to see." As the children worked, Maya's phone buzzed with an email notification. It was from Daniel, forwarding a proposal document with a simple message. "What do you think?" Maya opened the file, her eyes widening as she read through the lease renewal terms for Lux Avenue. It outlined a completely new business model for the boutique, one that included a mentorship program for aspiring designers from underserved communities, a sliding scale pricing structure for a new accessible line of products, and a community engagement requirement. The final paragraph caught her attention specifically. 10% of floor space to be dedicated to a rotating exhibition of emerging artists, with preference given to participants in the Henderson Community Arts Program. Maya smiled, recognizing the name of her own program. This wasn't about punishment or revenge. It was about transformation, using their position to create opportunity rather than exclusivity. She typed a quick response. "It's perfect." "But will they accept?" Daniel's reply came moments later. "If they're smart, they will. The alternative is finding a new location in 6 weeks." Maya put her phone away, turning her attention back to the children's art projects. She thought about Rebecca and the boutique, wondering what would happen next. Whatever Thompson decided, Maya knew one thing for certain. Her encounter at Lux Avenue would lead to change, one way or another. 1 month later, Maya stood before the mirror in their bedroom, adjusting the simple silver necklace Daniel had given her for their 10th anniversary. Her outfit was elegant but understated. A navy blue dress that she'd owned for years, comfortable flats and minimal makeup. Even with their vast resources, she'd never developed a taste for flashy displays of wealth. "Ready?" Daniel asked, appearing in the doorway. He wore a charcoal suit similar to the one from their boutique visit, though without the platinum watch. Tonight wasn't about intimidation. "Almost," Maya replied, picking up the beautifully wrapped package from their dresser. "Do you think she'll like it?" "Lily has been talking about that designer for years. She'll love it." Today was Lily's birthday celebration, a small gathering at her modest apartment across town. Maya's sister worked as a kindergarten teacher, and like Maya, had never been interested in material excess, but everyone deserved something special sometimes. "Before we go," Daniel said, holding up his tablet, "I thought you might want to see this." Maya took the device, which displayed the front page of a business magazine. The headline read, "Prestige Retail Group announces Revolutionary Style for All initiative." Beneath it was a photo of Gregory Thompson standing proudly in front of the newly renovated Lux Avenue boutique. "They accepted the terms," Maya said with a smile, scanning the article. "All of them?" Daniel nodded. "Thompson is actually embracing the changes wholeheartedly. Turns out he's been worried about the company's declining sales for years, but was too invested in the old model to pivot. Our lease terms gave him the push he needed to try something new, and the perfect excuse to tell his board," Maya added, knowing how corporate politics worked. "He can blame the demanding landlord instead of admitting the exclusive approach was failing." "Exactly. But the results speak for themselves. The boutique's foot traffic has increased by 40% in just 3 weeks since the reopening." Maya handed back the tablet. "I'm curious to see the changes in person." "We will," Daniel replied, taking her hand. "But first, let's celebrate your sister." Lily's apartment was filled with laughter and the delicious smell of homemade food. A dozen people crowded into the cozy space. Family and close friends gathered around a table laden with potluck dishes. Unlike the sterile perfection of Lux Avenue, this place felt warm and lived in, walls covered with children's artwork from her students and family photos. When Lily opened Maya's gift, her eyes widened in disbelief. This can't be real," she whispered, carefully lifting the tan leather handbag from its box. "I've been drooling over this designer since college." "It's real," Maya assured her with a smile. "And it's practical too. Not too big, not too small, with plenty of pockets for all your teacher supplies." Lily hugged her sister tightly. "It's too much, Maya." "It's exactly right," Maya replied. "Everyone deserves something special sometimes." As the party continued, Maya found herself in the kitchen helping with dishes. Lily joined her, bumping her sister's hip playfully. "So," Lily said in a low voice, "Daniel mentioned there's a story behind this bag. Something about you getting kicked out of a fancy store?" Maya rolled her eyes. "He told you about that?" "Just enough to make me curious." "What happened?" Maya sighed, telling her sister the abbreviated version of her experience at Lux Avenue and its aftermath. Lily listened, her expression changing from outrage to satisfaction. "I hope that awful saleswoman got fired," Lily said when Maya finished. Maya shook her head. "Actually, no. And I'm glad she didn't." "Really? After how she treated you?" "Firing one person wouldn't change the culture," Maya explained, drying a plate. "The whole system needed to change. And according to Daniel, she's actually become one of the strongest advocates for the new approach." Lily looked skeptical. "People don't change that easily. Sometimes they just need the right motivation," Maya replied. "But enough about boutiques and rude salespeople. Tell me about your new classroom setup." The following Tuesday, Maya stood outside the renovated Lux Avenue, taking in the transformed storefront. The formerly minimalist window display now featured an eclectic mix of items at various price points, alongside photographs of local artists and a sign announcing the upcoming gallery opening. Most noticeably, the intimidating security guard who had previously stood sentry was gone, replaced by an open-door policy and a welcome sign. Maya took a deep breath and entered. The interior had been completely reimagined, still elegant but warmer. The harsh white walls now featured rotating artwork, and the layout had been opened up to feel more inviting. New sections offered accessible versions of luxury designs, while the high-end pieces remained but were displayed less ostentatiously. Most importantly, the atmosphere had changed. A diverse group of customers browsed freely, some in designer clothes, others in everyday wear, all being assisted with the same level of attention. Maya was so absorbed in observing the transformation that she almost didn't notice Rebecca approaching. The saleswoman had spotted her immediately, and after a moment of visible hesitation had decided to come over. "Mrs. Chen," Rebecca said, her voice softer than Maya remembered. "Welcome back to Lux Avenue." Maya turned, studying the woman's face. Gone was the haughty arrogance, replaced by something more genuine. "Hello, Rebecca. The store looks different." "Everything is different," Rebecca replied with a small smile. "Including me, I hope." She paused, taking a deep breath. "I owe you an apology. What I did, how I treated you, was inexcusable." Maya nodded, appreciating that Rebecca didn't offer excuses or try to minimize what had happened. "For 7 years, I thought success in this industry meant catering to wealth and status," Rebecca continued. "I was good at it. Too good, maybe. I forgot that behind every purchase is a person deserving of respect." "And now?" Maya asked. "Now I'm learning a different approach. I'm the lead trainer for our new customer service program." She gestured around the store. "I won't pretend it was an easy transition. When Patricia first told me about my new role, I almost quit." "What changed your mind?" Rebecca smiled ruefully. "Honestly? Rent. I couldn't afford to leave without another job lined up." She shrugged. But then something unexpected happened. As the store became more accessible, I started meeting all these incredible people I would have previously ignored. Artists, teachers, nurses. People with fascinating stories and genuine appreciation for beautiful things, even if they could only afford them occasionally. She pointed to a young woman helping a customer in the new accessible section. "That's Amber. She's from your art program. She's teaching me more than I'm teaching her, if I'm being honest." Maya watched the interaction between Amber and the customer. The genuine smile, the thoughtful attention. "She seems like a natural." "She is," Rebecca agreed. "She'll probably have my job someday and she'll deserve it." She turned back to Maya. "Would you like to see the new collection? Or perhaps the gallery space? Your husband's company approved the renovation last week." "Actually," Maya said, "I'd love to see the community designer section I've heard about." Rebecca brightened. "It's my favorite part of the new store." As they walked toward a vibrant corner of the boutique, Rebecca added quietly, "Thank you, by the way." "For what?" "For not having me fired. For seeing the possibility of change instead of just punishment." Maya smiled. "That was Patricia's decision, not mine." "Your husband made it clear that firing staff wasn't part of the terms," Rebecca replied. "Patricia told us all about the meeting between Mr. Chen and Mr. Thompson." how he wanted systemic change, not scapegoats. They reached a section where designs from local creators were displayed alongside the work of established fashion houses. Not segregated, but integrated as equals. Your sister liked the bag? Rebecca asked after a moment. Maya looked at her in surprise. How did you know it was for my sister? You mentioned it that day, Rebecca said. It was your sister's birthday. Her expression turned remorseful. I wasn't listening then, but I remember it now. Before Maya could respond, the boutique door opened and Daniel entered, right on time to meet her after his nearby meeting. As he approached, Rebecca excused herself politely, moving to help another customer. How is it? Daniel asked, looking around with appreciation. Better than I expected, Maya admitted. I think they're actually embracing the changes, not just going through the motions. Thompson says their customer base has diversified while they've retained their luxury clientele. Turns out exclusivity isn't the only way to sell high-end products. Maya slipped her arm through his. Ready for the gallery opening on Thursday? Apparently some of my students' work will be featured. Daniel smiled. I wouldn't miss it. As they walked toward the exit, they passed a young woman entering the store hesitantly, wearing clothes not unlike what Maya had worn on her first visit. Rebecca immediately approached her with a genuine smile. Welcome to Lux Avenue, they heard her say. Can I help you find something special today? Outside on the sidewalk, Maya paused to look back at the transformed boutique. You know, when this all started, I was just embarrassed and angry about how I was treated. And now? Daniel asked. Now I'm grateful in a way. If that hadn't happened, none of this would have changed. Daniel squeezed her hand. That's why I fell in love with you. You never just see what is, you always see what could be. Maya smiled up at him. Speaking of what could be, Lily mentioned her school needs new art supplies. Already ahead of you, Daniel replied with a grin. The foundation approved the grant yesterday. Anonymous as usual. They walked down the busy sidewalk, just another couple among the crowds. No one would guess that the woman in the simple navy dress had sparked a small revolution in retail, or that the man beside her controlled billions in assets. They preferred it that way. After all, true worth had never been about appearance, wealth, or status. It was about how you treated others, whether they could do anything for you or not. And that was a lesson worth sharing, one boutique at a time.